I'm going to get a little technical and I'm going to talk about how we're using AI for our business specifically. And I have an ad agency and I'll give you a little intro on that in a second, but I just want you guys to think about it differently. It's like, okay, if they're doing it this way, how can we apply it to our business? And there's a handful of tools I'll talk about as well. I'm not here to necessarily talk about generative AI because everyone's talking about that. I think it's time to go one step further because my firm belief, what I've been telling my team is that we can only afford to hire the top 5% of people over the next 5 to 10 years because everyone here is really smart, everyone here is very strategic. The reality is you're gonna have 1,000, 10,000, 100,000 agents working for you. They're gonna be infinitely patient and they'll be working for you 24/7, right? And they'll understand all your kinks, all your weaknesses, and they'll probably do better than you at the end of the day. But that's what it's gonna look like. And that's why we can only afford to hire the top 5% of people. So I tell everyone every week, unreasonably high talent bar, that's all we can accept moving forward. So going to the talk now. So AI growth secrets that are 10xing traffic and leads for us. Before I do the quick intro, there will be some time for Q&A too, so you can save the questions. So main business is Single Grain, it's an ad agency. The podcast, Leveling Up, Marketing School. I'm gonna share how we're using the podcast to expand our content workflow. And right now we're getting a decent amount of views per month right now. About 11 million or so. I think we can get it to maybe 50 million or 100 million. I do think organic social is the biggest opportunity. So this is kind of an AI and a marketing talk as well. Our podcast hovers around number 1 to number 10 on business. So it does decently well. And I'll share some of the things that we're doing so you guys can do the same thing as well. Because what I've come to find from this event is a lot of you are interested in marketing and growing reach. I did a podcast with Robert Kiyosaki and he's like brand, right? So yes, everyone should build a brand. So this picture over here, I'm gonna jump into SEO first. And again, not everyone here might be doing SEO. I don't think SEO is necessarily dead. Google still owns 91% of search market share. But if you look at the top right over here, and I don't have a laser pointer, but if you look at the top right where it says 131 million, this website is TripAdvisor. So TripAdvisor gets about that $131 million visits from SEO per month. And they rank for about 24 million keywords. And how do they do that? I'm not saying everyone here can do that, but this is possible. Let's say if you have a website where you are trying to rank for things to do in Seattle, things to do in Japan, things to eat in Tokyo, right? This is called programmatic SEO. And because of AI, this is now available to people like you and me. So for example, for my website, just to share some numbers here, we rank for about 7,000 agency keywords. So if you Google on your phone, paid media agency or CRO agency, all these types of agency keywords will usually pop up number 1 to 3. How do we do that? Part of it is programmatic SEO. And so this piece will help you increase your traffic. And I'll talk about the pitfalls of this and I'll talk about how people do this wrong. And then I'm trying to share a framework with you all so then you can take it and do it yourself. So this was our traffic. You saw it go up into the right very quickly, and then it started to decrease, right? So we started producing a ton of pages around, these agency pages. Again, digital marketing agency Los Angeles, digital marketing agency Seattle. And it did really well for us. We started getting way more leads, and even to this day, it's doing well. But it started to plateau. And what happened here was, okay, it plateaued, but then there was a bounce back. So I'm gonna tell you that story right now. So a Google update happened, and Google found that a lot of people started publishing a bunch of AI content. So this is the stuff that you're hearing right now. Everyone's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna just create a bunch of crap content and publish it to the web, and they think they're gonna rank for it. That's not how it works, right? It's more about quality than quantity today. And so we're very focused on quantity when we scale these pages out, but we got hit by this Google update. That's where you see it going down and to the right. Now, okay, well, what happened exactly? Why is it going back up and to the right? In fact, it's even higher than this now. Like in the last 2 weeks, another Google update happened and we're moving up and to the right again. So the big thing for us is in the very beginning, the first mistake was we didn't bet hard enough on it. So when you have something working, you should press. We didn't press hard enough on it, right? So if you're on a hot streak playing blackjack, you should press, right? We didn't press hard enough. So that's the first mistake we made. The second mistake is we published lower quality content than we'd actually like. And I'm gonna come back to that in a second because in a little bit, I will talk about agentic workflows and AI agents, right? This stuff is actually starting to happen now. So we'll get to that and I'll share some screenshots with you. So what happened exactly was if we go back, Google released there's a Google leak a couple months ago, basically defining how their algorithm works, right? And it was exposed by a bunch of SEO people. Now, what you need to do to rank higher is, if you want to rank higher for your programmatic pages, the ones I'm talking about, is you need to focus on pruning pages, which means deleting pages, okay? It means you need to consolidate pages too. It means you need to delete pages. Not a lot of people are doing this right now. And this stuff might sound foreign to a lot of you, but if you put it through an agentic workflow where the robot's just doing it for you, you no longer need to worry about it, right? In SEO, you have to worry about all this crap like internal links. You have to worry about, our pages cannibalizing each other. There's all this stuff. Should you be updating keywords? There's all these things you have to worry about, right? But fact of the matter is, you guys don't want to think about this stuff, and it's a very thankless job to even do this stuff in the first place, right? So again, we're applying it for SEO, but you can apply to any process in your business that you're repeating. So that's what we do on the PSEO side. In about 3 months or so, we invested about 26 grand, and we made 100 grand off of it out the gate. And now we're making more than that, just off this little test over here. Now, just to go a little deeper, I'm gonna show a little case study over here. This is one of our customers, right? Their pages, their original pages, were only getting a click-through rate of 0.8%. So that means of every 100 people that visit the website or see a result, maybe less than one person is actually clicking. And so we wanted to fix that. And we didn't need to go balls to the walls for these people. We didn't need to produce 7,000 pages like what we did for us. Our goal was to try to scale more conversions for them at the end of the day, while ramping up content just a little bit. So you don't necessarily need to produce thousands of pieces of content, maybe a couple hundred, and you're good to go for your business, right? And the good news is, a lot of you that are in real estate, it's very location based. So a lot of permutations will have all the locations that your business is in, or the different types of services that you have, or different types of products that you might have, right? So this is why it works really well for the travel industry, like a TripAdvisor, for example, or a Yelp, or an Expedia. So for them, what we did was we just created 200 new pages, right? You don't have to read all this stuff. It's a wine website. We created a bunch of new pages, and the target permutations we were going after was best wine type under price point. Again, best Chardonnay under $10. I don't drink, so I don't, whatever, right? So this is how it works. We created 200 pages that are tied to more high intent pages, and they convert really well. And here are the results. Okay, so if you look at the right side over here, it says 6,300 clicks, 184,000 impressions. I'm purposely not showing you a big client with millions of traffic, because it's not relatable, right, in this context. I'm trying to make it relatable here. So 6,300 clicks. Before it was 3,400 clicks, and then before it was 100K impressions, now it's 184K impressions, right? So it's moving up and to the right. And the click-through rate is 3.4%. Before it was 0.8%, right? So when you have high intent pages, you're driving more traffic, you're getting a higher click-through rate, it's ultimately driving more conversions for them at the end of the day. So I'm not gonna read through all the results over here. All you need to see is that we added 1,123 new keywords, and 111 of them are in positions 1 to 3, and then 445 are in positions 1 to 10. When you're positions 1 to 10, you're within striking distance of a much higher click-through rate, right? Which means more traffic to your website, more traffic to your website. Hopefully that means more conversions, right? So again, a lot of people like to say SEO is dying. Most people just don't understand it, right? And I'm gonna talk to you about how this applies with organic social as well. There's a panel here a little earlier. We can talk about that, and we're certainly attacking that as well. And the one thing I'll say about SEO today is it's not just search engine optimization, it's more search everything optimization, right? So I see people's behavior, like, maybe Gen Z, people are just using TikTok to search. People are using Amazon to search. YouTube's the second largest search engine in the world, right? You have to think about attacking different channels, and that's just how the game works today. And that's a good thing, right? Marketing is getting harder again, and that's actually an opportunity for you, because it's a blue ocean again. Look, you look at a lot of the people here. You look at, let's see, Robert Kiyosaki's built the brand, Ken's built the brand as well, George Gammon's built the brand. That's how I met him, right? Because I watch his YouTube videos. And so at the end of the day, if these people can do it, we're all human, right? You can do the same thing too. But a lot of people don't touch this stuff because it's too complicated, because it takes too long. But the good news about SEO is it forces you to think like a long-term investor. That's the good thing about it. Okay, so here's a little QR code over here. This is our email list where we just talk about all things related to marketing. I'm gonna leave it up for maybe 5 seconds, and then you can scan it if you want. We just share the latest in marketing. We shared stuff from the podcast, but this is we're not trying to sell you stuff here, but that's what it is.
All right, quick note. This is about my company. It's called Single Grain, and Single Grain is an ad agency where we're focused on driving innovation. And so I want to talk about a couple of new strategies, and if you need help with marketing, great. If not, here are a couple of new strategies that you should try out. One is programmatic CRO. So we are doing programmatic conversion rate optimization on our site. We're building products that will automatically optimize your site to increase conversion rates. We're also auto-optimizing, auto-updating from an SEO standpoint. And we're constantly thinking about what else we can do in terms of enriching the visitors that are hitting your website and also tailoring custom messages for them using AI. And so there's a handful of things that we're doing from a marketing standpoint, and our mission is just to drive more innovation. So if you want to learn more, just go to singlegrain.com, grain like rice. So singlegrain.com to learn more, and we'll see you inside.
So now we'll talk about organic social, because that's a sexy thing right now. And I do believe this is the biggest opportunity in terms of growing your reach in the next 12 months or so. I had a chat with Gary Vee about this on a podcast, and basically he said the same thing. So you can see over here, one of the reels, the one on the left has about 900,000 views, the one in the middle, 2 million, and then the one on the right, 142K. Since then, we've had a couple that will pop off, 2 million views, 6 million views or whatever. And my whole thing is like, okay, if we're spending money on this, what kind of ROI is it driving for my business, right? A lot of people ask us, like, why do short form? What kind of ROI does it drive? And so when I pump this type of content out and people see it, I remember I was at a conference with one of my friends. It was like a health conference, and 3 or 4 people walked up to me and said, hey, like, I watch your stuff, right? And this is a conference where there's a certain criteria the revenue criteria you have to hit to be there. And so these are people that do well, right? And then one of these reels, someone texted me, he's a CMO of a multi-billion-dollar crypto company. So does it drive opportunities? Absolutely it does. And it's interesting because my podcast co-host, Neil, and I, we argue about this sometimes. We're like, should we create large total addressable market, large TAM content? And my argument is yes, because I want to be known by as many people as possible. His argument is it doesn't drive as many conversions, right? So my data says it does, his data maybe not as much, but we're just different people. So take it for what it is, different perspectives, you decide what you want to do with it. So, okay, we produce the podcast content. Oftentimes we're sitting in a studio on the left and the right side. But what else can we do with this, right? Sure, it gets 11, 12 million views a month. That's decent. We're certainly trying to get the views higher. And by the way, the hack here is if you want to get to the 100 million views per month, at the end of the day, you just build out more pods of editors, right? So the way it's structured for us is we have one editor, okay? And then there's one editor, and then there's one person that's a content architect. What that architect does is they find the right moments from a podcast, and then they tell the person to edit those, right? And you can hire great people from offshore. Maybe you're paying them $500 a month full time. They're happy. It's a great salary for them, and they're just focused full time on this. There's a lot of people that are getting hundreds of millions of views per month, and that's what they're doing. They probably are spending 30 to 40 to 50 grand a month with these pods, and you don't have to do that necessarily. Maybe out the gate you're starting smaller. Maybe you have a pod of just one person or two people editing, but it's not that complicated, right? It's just people aren't willing to go the extra mile, but you're here and you're willing to go the extra mile. So, we're showing the numbers here, and it's like, okay, it's at 11 million, but what can we do for this from an SEO standpoint? So what we're doing is we call this AI-assisted content, right? So this is still a little bit in generative AI, but what we do is we take the transcript from the podcast, and then we'll pop it into like a Claude, or you can pop it into ChatGPT if you want. And if you do that, then it'll give you maybe 60 to 70% of a blog post. You still need a human in the loop. I believe in the next 2 to 5 years, you still need a human in the loop. A lot of people, again, aren't willing to go the extra mile. It's like, oh yeah, I'm just going to use ChatGPT. And what happens is they pump out a bunch of crap content. It's like, oh, it doesn't perform, right? No, it does perform if you have a human in the loop to ensure that they're meeting your quality guidelines, right? And in fact, this screenshot's a little outdated. This is from March. This is ripping right now. This section, this AI-assisted content, it's shooting straight and up into the right. I wish I could bust my laptop out right now. It's kind of insane, right? So sometimes you have to also sit and wait too, and good things will happen. But that's what we do for AI-assisted content, and that's how we maximize. Sure, we're doing well on all the short-form platforms. We're doing well on YouTube, but how are we doing on our blog, right? Again, the blog's an afterthought for a lot of people, but it's probably still one of our top 2 lead drivers for my business, right? There's a lot of demand there because, again, I think SEO is a blue blue ocean because most people are they want to go for the quick win, so they go for paid media, or maybe they go for organic social, and it seems like it's a black box to them, but it's not that difficult, right? It's really not that difficult. If you do it, you go the extra mile, you're going to drive a lot more traffic than your competitors, and maybe you're getting more deal flow, right? So, and this is what it looks like over here with the human in the loop. So we did an episode on Marketing School talking about Barbie's marketing strategy. That did well, that the Barbie movie, and the initial setup for this in terms of cost, just to give you guys a breakdown here, was when we were converting the podcast to blogs with the editors and just using ChatGPT, it was costing us about $100 per post, and we're getting 5 posts out per week. Before that, we're paying maybe $400 per post or so, and maybe we're getting 3 to 4 posts per week. And this is all done by humans, right? So this is decent, it's not amazing. But as we continue to iterate over time, we didn't give up on this. The results kind of sucked in the beginning, but over time it got better. Over time, now it's looking like $25 per post, and we're getting 25 posts out per week. And they're all pretty good quality, about 8 or higher. And we're rating the posts every single week. We have an internal marketing meeting where we're just like, does it suck? You know, is this a 6 out of 10? Why is it a 6 out of 10? What can we do to be better? And that's what it looks like for us. So costs are coming down, efficiency is going up, traffic is going up, more leads, and everybody's happy. All right. So here's a little bonus, and I actually just discovered this maybe 2 weeks ago or so you guys are getting this firsthand. There's a Y Combinator-backed company. So Y Combinator is an accelerator. They back Dropbox, Airbnb. They invested in this company called Overlap. And what Overlap does is, if any of you produce content, you can take the YouTube link and dump it into Overlap, and it'll find the right clips for you. It does this better than any other tool I've seen. It does it better than Opus, right? Which is a tool a lot of people have been using to try to find the right clips. But it finds the right clips, and we're getting about 24 times more reach on organic for X, for LinkedIn, and Threads, right? Because we're like, okay, we're doing decently well on short form, we're doing pretty well on SEO, but we aren't doing so well on written. And my whole thing with organic social or organic anything is wherever there is organic reach, you have to attack it as much as you can before it goes away, right? So X is pretty decent right now. Threads is pretty decent. It's like, Threads is like the liberal version of X, and X is, the Republican version. And then LinkedIn is phenomenal, right? If you guys are doing business B2B. And by the way, a lot of content on LinkedIn is pretty insufferable. So if you guys are producing good video content, you're going to stand out, right? We're talking 2 to 5 minute videos, and they're doing way better than any of the posts we've been putting out the last couple of weeks. So, and this is completely free, by the way. If you go to joinoverlap.com, they're not paying me to say this, but you guys can check it out. So I'll just leave that up there. Or I guess I won't. I'm going to move on. So I talked about programmatic SEO a little earlier. So programmatic SEO produces a lot of pages for you. But I didn't talk to you about programmatic CRO, which is programmatic conversion rate optimization. So if you're going to produce a bunch of these pages and they all convert at 0.5%, what if you can increase the conversion rates to 1%? That's double the conversions, right? Double the leads for you. And so for us, if you look at the right side, usually that button would say work with us. What we do now is we take, and I'll have the prompt for you guys to take a picture of if you want, but it'll scan the page, the context of the page, and it'll change the call to action based on what the page says. So in this case, it's no longer work with us, it's get quality leads, right? Or in some cases, it might say scale my conversions if it's related to conversion rate optimization. So what we do with programmatic CRO is we change the call to actions, we also change the headlines on these little pop-up forms as well, and we also change the sub-headline as well. And what that does ultimately is we are able to drive our clicks up on these pages by about 50%. So that's our little micro conversion, right? So clicks go up by 50%. And so 47.5%, that's what it looks like. That's pretty good. And this can be done at scale. Any of you can do this at scale, right? Because I'm going to share the prompts with you guys, and you guys can hopefully send it to one of your developers. If they can't figure it out, you should probably fire them. I didn't say that though. They need to figure this stuff out, right? Because I'll tell you one more thing. Our developers right now, they're eating up everything I'm sending their way. And I'm not technical. There's a new app called Cursor AI, and they just raised a bunch of money. What they do is they help coders autocomplete code, right? Or someone like us, by the way, we can actually create our own video editor if we want. There's a bunch of things. We can create our own financial model if we want, really quickly, right? So you don't need to learn how to, I don't think you need to know how to code to do it, but it's ideal if you do. Because you can then combine it with your skills. You can combine it with Claude. You can combine it with other stuff out there, or even ChatGPT. I sent this to my developer. He said he's now 2 times faster. 2 times faster now. And this is 2 weeks ago. He's like, something that was taking me 5 hours, it's now taking me 2.5 hours to do, right? So efficiencies, we're saving money on this, right? So that tool is called Cursor AI, and I think it's like $192 for the year. And yeah, everybody's talking about it on Twitter or X. Okay, so this is not a prompt, but I'm not going to get into the technicalities here, but you're probably going to need someone technical to execute on this, so you can take a screenshot if you want, but this is the prompt that I believe our developer uses. And yeah, there are some instructions here. You will receive a JSON object as input. The JSON object will contain a benefit key. All you need to do is spec this out for your developer. If they can't figure it out, then you need to move on. Like, the whole thing now, when we interview people, is tell me what you're doing with AI. If they're just like, oh yeah, we use ChatGPT, not enough. You got to tell me what you're doing with ChatGPT. What are you doing beyond ChatGPT? What have you actually built? Like, how hardcore are you? Because if they're not, that's going to hurt your business at the end of the day, right? That's what I truly believe. Okay, so now we're getting into agents, and then I think we'll be able to get to some Q&A. But I'll wait for the end for that one actually. So agents, fundamentally, you're thinking about all the jobs to be done for every single role in your company, right? So for example, for an SEO manager at our company for Single Grain, we think about there's a lot of jobs to be done. So keyword research, if you look at the very top, what do you have to do? On-page SEO, technical SEO, content strategy, tracking, reporting. Okay, then what do you have to do? You have to identify keywords. There's responsibilities within there as well. So we have to map out all the things to be done, okay? And then we're like, okay, how do we actually make this an AI-driven agent that can actually just do this stuff for us? So here's an example. Earlier I mentioned that when you're creating a lot of pages on your website, you have to think about consolidating or deleting pages. That's a very thankless job. Well, now we have an agent that will fetch pages on our Google Search Console, which is kind of like Google Analytics, but for SEO. And then we'll think about which pages actually need to be consolidated based on certain criteria that we have. And it goes through this entire workflow over here. So we're creating all these workflows within our company right now to not just make our developers more efficient, but to make our people more efficient, right? And so how does this apply to your business? We all have different businesses here, I think, for the most part. So if you're able to create these workflows, you're going to be a lot faster. And here are some examples of workflows at scale. So we have one where we will consolidate pages. We talked about that. We have one where we'll automatically update links on pages as well. Okay, so we'll try to link to relevant content because that helps as well. We'll try to update. I don't know if I mentioned update. We try to update content too. So that means adding a paragraph, adding 2 paragraphs, adding 3 paragraphs. That goes a long way. And oftentimes Google will look at your pages over a period of time and be like, hey, if this page isn't driving any more traffic, it isn't driving any more links, it doesn't deserve to be in our index, right? Or it doesn't deserve to get credit anymore. And that's how a lot of pages start to decay. The reason why Wikipedia ranks so highly for all these keywords is because one, their domain rating is very strong, right? That's scored on a scale of 1 to 100. That's one thing. The second piece is they have so many human editors adding content all the time. I remember looking at this Abraham Lincoln page. The first time it came out, it was like 5,000 words. And then now I think that page has like 30,000 words, right? It keeps getting updated over time, and that's why they get a lot of credit, right? They have the pages are they're like complete answers. The website's very strong, and they're constantly getting updated. That's why they do well. But you guys run businesses. You don't have time to always think about doing this stuff. So how do we go about automating this? And maybe having a human in the loop check these at the very end just to make sure everything's going okay. Because to think that you can just let the robot sit around right now, I don't think we're quite there yet. So just keep that part in mind.
All right, agency owners, if you want to grow faster, my partner Neil Patel and I, we are hosting live agency owner workshops in Beverly Hills, and you're going to learn how to get more clients. You're going to learn how to take yourself out of the day-to-day. You're going to learn how to recruit the right people, and you're going to be hanging out with people, like-minded people such as yourself. So if you want to learn more, just go to marketingschool.io/agency. Again, it's marketingschool.io/agency, and we'll see you on the other side.
So right here, here's another AI updates meta information at scale with workflows reused across clients. So this increased our efficiency by 10%. What does that mean? This means those of you that run ads, or those of you that are doing organic social, oftentimes we're thinking about click-through rates, right? Or Josh over there, you're thinking about click-through rates, right? You're trying to drive traffic for your YouTube videos. So in SEO, it's no different. Marketing is bringing people to the point of sale, right? It's getting people to actually want to click. So when you search for SEO agency or something like that, if it says SEO agency that sucks, you're probably not going to click that one, right? But if you write a really good title, you write a really good description, that's going to drive your click-through rates up. But we don't have time to do that across all our pages. So then we create an agent that allows us to do that, and then we kind of daisy chain the agents together. Once this happens over here, or maybe you have to have a human in the loop, check every stage. But that's how this stuff works right now, right? So we're getting to the level of, I think maybe in 5 years, maybe within 10 years, where we have artificial general intelligence, and then we just have computers smarter than us, right? And then who knows what happens. But in the meantime, right now, we can take advantage of this. Here's a prompt that you can take. This is the prompt that we use for programmatic SEO. So you guys can take a picture of this if you want to do it. Just steal what we have over here. It's totally fine. I don't know if they'll share my slides afterwards, but if they do, great. Take the slides as well. But here's a picture of the prompt. I'll leave it up for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. All right. The other thing we do, just to move on PCRO a little more, so programmatic conversion rate optimization. So what we also do on these pages is we change the logos based on the page. So if we're talking about SaaS companies, because we work with a lot of SaaS companies, we'll change all the logos to SaaS companies. If we're talking about e-commerce companies, we'll change all the logos to e-commerce companies we work with, because that's going to drive conversion rates higher. That decreases friction, right? That's what sales is at the end of the day. So that's a little extra tidbit with CRO. And here's the prompt for PCRO. I'll give you guys 10 seconds to take a screenshot. All right. So, by the way, is any of this helpful so far? Pretty good? Okay, good. All right. So this is what one of the SEO pages look like if you want to look at the content. So it's actually not that bad, right? So maximize Shopify store sales with the right CRO efforts. It's a little stiff, right? We're trying to figure out how we can set an agentic workflow to update these pages too, to make them less stiff. But these pages rank really well. And earlier I talked about how we got penalized by the PSEO stuff in the beginning, but then I talked about how the AI-assisted marketing school content is ripping right now. The PSEO stuff for us now is ripping again because we're focusing so much on quality. So if you guys are going to produce content, because everyone knows now that you have to produce content, right? But not everyone's willing to put in the quality, and that's what will set you apart. One of the final things I'm going to talk about here, you see all the traffic going up and to the right. The blue line is Shopify's community, okay? The black line is HubSpot's community. So these are both publicly traded companies. What is going on over here? Are you guys seeing a lot more results at Google? When you search on Google, are you seeing a lot more Quora, a lot more Reddit results? Yeah? So Google's giving a lot more benefit to communities now. And so even at the very bottom, Zapier, they're going up and to the right. Anybody that has a community, you're going to be able to drive a lot more traffic. And I think Pace, he's talking about community right now in his session. But you can use a platform like School, or you can use a platform like Circle. And if you build a community, you're going to not only drive a lot more SEO traffic, but what's going to happen? You're going to build something that people want to come back to, because community is a retention mechanism. This event, this is a community, right? What's the mastermind called again? The Collective? Okay, yeah, the Collective, that's a community within itself, right? So communities are just going to get stronger. Again, you can use a platform like School or Circle, but that's why these people are doubling down on community, and that's why Quora is doing so well. That's why Reddit's doing so well. Now, the final thing I'll leave you with here is, this is Microsoft CEO, and he says that AI agents will become the primary way we interact with computers in the future. They will be able to understand our needs and preferences and proactively help us with tasks and decision making. So that's what Satya says, and that's what Mark Zuckerberg says. Everyone's saying this, right? I don't think enough people are paying attention to this right now. I think this is like all of a sudden, and then it's just there. So the more you're on top of it with just testing and playing around with this, you don't have to do SEO, you don't have to do organic. Just pick one thing over here and figure out how you can apply it to your business. That's what I'm trying to bring over here. So I guess I'm upside down here. That's totally fine. But that's where all my stuff is, on Twitter or Instagram. But I think I can open up for questions now. So we have 2 mic runners. We have Nicole and Omar.
Hi, I'm just wondering, is there a reliance on OpenAI and their GPT, or is there any possibility in the future to try to diversify away from that to build your own in-house LLM, and is that like of interest? Yeah,
I think the future is it's not just going to be these like a general LLM, like a OpenAI or like a ChatGPT or like a Claude, those are too broad. I think it's good. Like for example, I'm just thinking about Gong, right? We use Gong as a sales tool. It's a sales intelligence tool, and all the data they have for how all companies do sales, right? They have a lot to work with to build their own LLM, and I think I'd pay a lot of money for that because they just have all the data in the world on just how to convert your customers more and what you should be doing, and maybe who's not performing, and they can spot it for you faster so you can move on from people, or you can help people perform better.
Thank you.
Yeah.
How are solutions like Perplexity AI going to affect SEO?
Yeah, great question. So Perplexity it's not exactly an LLM. They use retrieval augmented generation, so RAG. They actually use search engines like Google, right? So I've changed my stance. I don't think like a Google is going to get replaced because a Perplexity needs to pull that data from somewhere to enhance their answers. So I think they'll be living. I love Perplexity, by the way. They give you pretty complete answers. So I think they can live, together. Oh, right there.
Yeah, so a lot of stuff, amazing stuff. My brain is melting out of my ears, and I love it. And looking at this from a tiny business standpoint, you'd mentioned quality, and you talked about editors and those things, and that's kind of new to me. And so I'm asking from your top of the mountain view, looking down at the little tiny versions of business, what are things that you would recommend? Is it mostly focusing on quality? Can you speak to that?
Yeah, what's your business?
Coaching. I teach coaches all around the world, so a coaching business.
Okay, so coaching, there's a lot of coaches that do well with organic social. They drive a ton of views and then they drive them to their email list, or they'll drive a bunch of views and they'll drive them to a webinar and then convert them to the webinar. I don't know if it was you, Josh, or somebody else said recently it was you actually. So Josh, I can tell the story, right? Sure. Yeah, okay. So here's this is a story with Ken. He drove about 5,000, I believe, webinar registrants or attendees. Organic, yeah. So he made like 7 videos or so. They got a couple 100,000 views, and then boom, right? So that works well. Or if let's say you don't have an audience, right? You could buy emails, right? When I say buy emails, you can run ads on Meta or Facebook or Instagram. That does well. You can usually get the CPA, the cost per acquisition down. But if you're starting out right now, I would go a lot of hand-to-hand combat. A lot of people try to scale it before they nail it. Just nail it before you scale it. I think there's a lot of people do premature scaling, and they think ads are the solution, and then if ads don't work out, they just blame the ad manager. So don't do that. And hopefully you do it yourself a little bit in the beginning, where you know enough to be dangerous, so when you hire someone, they're not running circles around you.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
Can you speak to like AI agents helping in other areas of the business? Like any ops or anything like that?
Yeah, okay. So recruiting is always going to be a pain in the butt for us. And so we talk about unreasonably high talent bar. So how do we go about screening the best people that fit? And so in the future, what's going to happen is we'll have an agent that's actually just talking to people, and then we're screening them based on all the patterns where like this is a go or no go. So they'll see all of our interview data. They'll ingest all of that, all the videos, all the transcripts, and everything. That's one way of doing it. And then from a finance standpoint, for example, like our finance guys, our controller, I should say, he's a little slow when it comes to reporting. It takes him a couple days. This stuff shouldn't take a couple days. It should be like instant, because by the time it takes a couple more days, like I've already moved on to something else, or somebody on the executive team has moved on to something else. So those are like 2 examples.
Eric, I'm really busy, and this stuff is it's so new. I don't want to spend the time to learn it. If I'm going to hire somebody to do this for me, realistically, like what kind of budget should I set aside, and not like the cheap, people that are going to require me to come back in and fix it, but like really somebody that can actually just do all this stuff for me.
How many employees do you have?
100.
Okay, so in the very beginning of all this stuff, we started an AI working group, and so what that means is every single week we're talking about in the beginning everyone's just talking about new tools. I was like, guys, stop talking about new tools. Talk about how we're actually gonna use this stuff. And then what happened was we had a champion, like an AI champion, that was this person's driving new experiments, they're finding the new stuff, and they're constantly pushing the pace, and they're sharing the results on what's working and what isn't working. So I do believe, one, if you're one of the co-founders, you should be helping to drive it, but you should have ideally one person on your team that's pushing it forward. You can call them an AI strategist if you want, but maybe that person, if they're really skilled, ideally they're technical, could be anywhere from 100, 150, if they're really good, I don't know, 200 or so. I think it just depends on what stage you're at. One more, all right.
Hey Eric, my name is Eric as well, just with a K. That's how you're supposed to spell it, so I'm sorry for that. Can you talk about how you foresee AI is going to impact the real estate market as far as like finding deals, off-market buyers, sellers, stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing that came to mind, and so I haven't really thought about this, so I'm going to give you a just off-the-cuff answer. But it's funny because I make fun of my mom. She's a real estate agent, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know what you're going to, like, if you were younger, I think you'd be pretty screwed. Because the behavior now is you might be using Perplexity or you might be using any of these LLMs to search for things, and eventually I'll be able to get a pretty complete answer. And if you're Google, for example, you're using Gemini, you can even plan trips through Gemini now, and it will run through their engines. So what's to stop them from just wanting to, or like a Zillow or something, just want to take, they can take the entire funnel and they can take the commission, right? And you know, some people can argue it's relationship based. I don't know. I've moved into a lot of places sight unseen, so maybe I don't really care for the relationship. So I don't know. That's where my mind went. But the real answer is I don't know.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. I think that's it. Thank you guys so much, and have a good rest of your afternoon.
Awesome. Clap for Eric Su. Thank you so much.